Welcome back, all my 40k fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation, and today is a little video for my cronies. After our last Mish games, I wanted to just bring up, even though Lane thwarted our championship run, we'll get it back. I wanted to really highlight a unit that really bugs Lane. A unit that Lane always says how much he dislikes. Honestly, everything in Necrons he doesn't like very much, but this is a unit that really bugs him. Probably can't see it. That's a Scarab base. Canoptek Scarabs. Canoptek Scarabs in 9th edition were a linchpin. They were able to get a 5-up invuln from a Chronomancer. You had 9-man squads, and they were such a pain to have to try to take down. With the switch in the index, these guys got a lot softer, and a lot of people started to put them on the bench or use them for secondary objectives. Now we get into Pariah Nexus because they were cheaper. Now we get into Pariah Nexus, and with the fact that we have to have an OC value, makes it seem like these guys are even tougher to run. And in a lot of ways, that may be so. However, I'm going to talk to you about what I've found, and I've discussed this a little bit, but I want to showcase this a little more on Canoptek Scarabs and how beautiful these things can be in combat and strengthen an army in utilization. As always, guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Turn on the bell, get notified on all the content over here on the channel, including that inevitable fight that the Necrons will get their revenge against Lane and his Space Marines, which won't be the Death Watch, but they will probably be some Marines. He is a diehard Adeptus Astartes player, so we'll definitely see some more Marines here soon. Now, Scarabs. Let's talk about this datasheet a little bit first before we get into it. So the Scarab datasheet is they are a very, very soft model. Where last edition they could get access to the 5-up invuln, now we don't have that at all. So we don't have an invuln to really go off of, and we just have the base stats. So the base stats of the Scarab, first of all, we start off with the fact that they have a 10-inch move. Not too bad. The only thing that kind of irks me a little bit is the fact that swarms cannot go through walls. A Space Marine in power armor can go through a window, can go through a wall, can move through runes, but bugs cannot. I don't understand why swarm units cannot go through runes. That one doesn't make any sense to me. I don't really get that at all, but that's what it is. Now, there is some places you can usually set. Knowing it ahead of time, you just got to be able to position them well enough to make through there, to make it around corners and make it where you need to go. And with how I run them, being a little bit further back is not too bad. These guys have a toughness of 2. So another weak point to the defense. If you hit them with anything and you hit them with it, it's probably going to do damage. They do have 4 wounds, so they got to get a couple of hits through to take out a base. But again, that toughness 2 makes it not all around too difficult to do. A 6-up save means they're probably never going to really get a save. If they're in cover, they get a 5-up. It's better than some things, I will say this, because there are some things that are sitting on a 7-up save. So you need to be in cover just to even get a 6-up. So, okay. Leadership 8, they means they're going to fail. Okay, so they'll stay OC 0 in some situations, but you have to drop them down to under 50%. And again, now it comes into the factor of once you start hitting them and they die, they probably are just going to be going away. So not too much of a factor in that sense. They are OC 0, but let's talk about this now. They're OC 0, and they have the ability Chittering Swarm. This means that if they're within engagement range of a unit, they can reduce that unit's objective control value by 1. If they are within 6 of a Cryptek, they gain 1 to their objective control value. This is going to be very important with some of the tactics we're going to talk about here in a second. And second, one of my favorite abilities, Self-Destruct. At the start of the fight phase, so this is yours and your opponent's fight phase, you select a unit that is in engagement, and you roll a dice. Adding 1 if the unit that you're in engagement with is a vehicle, specifically a vehicle. On a 1, nothing happens, but you lose the model. Because you have to destroy the model, select 1 model in this unit to destroy. So you have to do that first. Then you roll a dice. On a 1, nothing happens. 2 through 5, D3 mortal wounds. On a 6+, because of the vehicle factor, you do 3 flat mortal wounds. Now, in combat, these guys have 6 attacks, with a weapon skill 5, strength only of 2, AP 0, 1 damage, but the critical thing here is that they have lethal hits. Lethal hits being 6s to hit, do automatically wound. Now, with the Scarabs, they have 6 attacks re-rolling. Why re-rolling? Because you're probably going to want to run these things on a Canoptek Court. Honestly, anywhere else, that's where you're going to be running into all the issues with their stats. Out of Canoptek Court, these guys can work very, very nicely as a very strong support unit, and I run them in 6-mans for 80 points. They're very cheap for 6 bases that all have 4 wounds apiece. It's still a lot to go through. Not to mention the explosion factor is really, really cool, coupled with the spiders. Now, when we talk about the Canoptek Court and all the rerolls that you get, these guys are able to utilize that extremely well with that lethal hits. Now you can just fish. You pick up, you take their 6 hits apiece, you roll, you take the 6s that are wounds, any of the 5s that hit, because these guys do hit on 5s. Any of the 5s that hit, you don't care. You pick it up and roll it again, because you're probably going to need 6s to wound anyway. So just fishing for those lethal hits can drastically change how much damage these guys do. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to go in their charge and take out a Land Raider, but the fact is that these guys will end up hitting and doing damage to things that your opponent really wasn't expecting to take damage from the Scarabs for. And it affects a lot. Now, as far as how these things function on the table, let's move over to the tabletop view so I can kind of show you and talk to you about how I utilize these guys and what they're able to do in that combat situation. All right, so for this example, we are using the Grey Knight Terminators. For those who don't know, Grey Knight Terminators are a battle line unit for Grey Knights. So these are the Grey Knight Brotherhood Terminators, not the one out of Inquisition. The biggest difference is the Inquisition ones can't up down and have a squad size maximum of 5. This is a 10-man squad with an apothecary and a banner, which means that this battle line unit has an OC2, which is then increased to an OC3 because of the banner. So OC3 per model. 7 of these guys are on the objective, which means right now the Grey Knights are holding this objective with an objective control value of 21. We need to flip this objective so at the beginning of the fight phase, we control it so we can get full rerolls to hit. Because somewhere else on the battlefield, we have another objective marker. This is the one that matters for the rerolls. So we're going to charge. And as you can see, yay, we rolled a 7. So what we're going to do, now first things first, we want to get all the wraiths on the objective marker. So we're going to charge this guy. He's going to go right here where he makes it into base-to-base contact with a model in the charging unit, and for him first. Next, we're going to take this guy back here, and he's going to go straight up and tag into base contact right there. Next up, we'll move this guy over here. We still have some room over here, so we can move this guy. He doesn't quite make it to base contact, so he's going to stop right here. And now this guy, he's not going to be able to finish his move without landing directly on this wraith and model. Not a legal move because he can't land on it. So he's going to be able to go somewhere else. He has a 7-inch move, so he's going to move over here. He's now in base contact with a model that's in engagement range, so he's able to fight. This guy will do the same. And the Technomancer doesn't matter very much, but he's just going to move up there to be closer. So now, in this scenario, we were able to get all the wraiths on there because of how we move. We moved the first row up and blocked any of our models in the back row from being able to engage a model without, by order of operations, with which models I moved first. So since they do still have a 7-inch move and they can move any direction so long as they end their move close to the enemy model, all of them achieved both cadences. They were not able to make it in base contact, and so now they're all in the objective marker. But we're not finished yet. Now, here's the problem. We are still not enough to control the objective. We are objective control 2, per Wraith and the Technomancer. So we're looking at objective control 12 for the unit, plus the Technomancer takes us to a 13. Still not 21. So we're not getting those full rerolls. So then we charge the Scarabs. Oh, look at that. We rolled a 7. So once again, we need to move these guys into base contact, okay? So we'll start here. Slide this guy up in here. All the way. And this guy will go into base contact right here. These guys will go over here. Unfortunately, this guy does have the ability to make it in base contact there, so that's going to happen. This guy here as well. And now that we have all that blocked out, there's nowhere really for this one to be able to make base contact, because we can also spread these guys out a bit to really cover it, but we still had too much room back here. They would have made it there. So this guy's going to go over here. He is closer. Now, 2 things have happened here. 1, we are now within 6 inches of this Technomancer, which means all of those Scarabs now have objective control value of 1. 3 of which are on the objective marker, so now we have our 13 from this unit, plus 3 puts us at 16. Still not there. We're still, because we need to get to 21. However, the Scarabs with that swarming ability now have the ability to reduce their objective control value by 1. So now the Terminators that were 21 are now dropped down to 14. So now, again, we do the math. We have objective control 12 for the Wraiths, plus 1 for the Technomancer gives us 13, plus 3 for the Scarabs takes us to 16. Terminators, objective control 3 apiece, are now down to objective control 2, and it is the unit. So objective control 2, 7 models on the objective means they have a 14. So now we control the objective and have rerolls. Now here's a little fun factor too of how some of this stuff can work and what I love doing. Let's say here in the backfield, we have 2 spiders hanging out. These spiders are within 6 inches of Scarabs. So during my turn, I'm going to or during the fight phase, beginning of the fight phase, I'm going to blow up a base. Okay, so D3 mortal wounds. Okay, let's say we got lucky, we got a 3, so we just take out a whole Terminator right there. Now the Wraiths swing. They have full rerolls to hit, full rerolls to hit. They're strength 6, they're AP 1 only, so not that efficient. But they are 2 damage, which is nice. So let's say they pick up, we'll say they pick up another 2 on their charge, on their fight. And it might be being a little wishful thinking because we're on a 3-up save here, but there is quite a bit of attack, so we'll say we picked up another 2. Now the Scarab swing. The Scarabs have that lethal hit factor, and there's 5 of them. Granted, we are still going into a 2-up save here, but with a lot of wounds, we'll be again a little bit hopeful here. We pick up another Terminator, and we maybe leave a wound in the squad or something. Okay, so the Terminators, they file back in. So now we're down to 3 Terminators here, 3 Terminators over here. So now we have 6. We still control the objective because they're still -1 OC because of the Scarabs there. So we're looking at a 12. They fight back. They're probably going to go after the Wraiths in most scenarios because the Scarabs, while they could really punk them and punk them hard, that's not going to be enough. As long as one Scarab's alive, they're still down that OC. And if they do pick up the Wraiths, if they do pick up the Scarabs, which they very well could, they would tip this objective back over to them. However, it's not going to be, to get their points on it. It might be worth it to try and swing into the Scarabs and do it. But again, if they don't completely wipe out all of the Scarabs, they don't take the objective. So there's 5 Scarabs there, 4 wounds apiece. They need 10 wounds to go through. You have the 5 guys, 2 of which are not even able to fight the Scarabs. These 4 would be the only ones that are able to fight the Scarabs. 4 attacks apiece, so you have 16 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s. They need 10 to go through to take the squad down. Might be a little risky because if they don't, then there you go. So let's say they go into the race, try and pick up, and they pick up 2. Okay, so then still in this scenario, we still have the 4 wraiths. So you got 2, 4, 6, 8, plus this 9, 10, 11, 12. To their 12, it's contested. So now leaving the turn, they now do not control the objective marker. They can stay in combat, they can put back a dude because of the apothecary, but then when our turn comes, we blow up another scarab. We do a little bit more, or we fight, we pick up another 3. Now we have them hurting. They're hurting really, really bad. But this is the fun part. When it goes back to our command phase, let's say they left these scarabs alone, or let's say in this scenario, not even these guys. We fought something else, a smaller squad, maybe just 5 Terminators. And at the end of the day, because of those scarabs, their race got beat up, but the scarabs lived because they're dropped on the threat chain. These 2 spiders hanging out, each spider is able to put a single scarab base back. You put a base back for each model in the unit. So we blow up both those scarabs, and now we reload. Scarabs are back and ready to go. I can't tell you how many times that actually happens. This is a unit as well, too, that utilizing the terrain still to bring them in. Because the Wraiths, typically, in this circle of destruction, the Wraiths lead the front. The Wraiths are the most durable. Feel no pain from the Technomancer. The Scarabs are the next one to follow in. Once the Wraiths have controlled an objective and something is trying to threaten them, next up is the Scarabs to come in there to be able to reduce the OC so we can still control the objective, to make sure we get the damage out of the Wraiths, as well as being able to provide those lethal hits. And last but not least is the Spiders, which the Spiders are able to come in, scooting up, and they can charge in if they're needed with their Thunder Hammer-like attacks, 5 of them apiece. The Particle Caster Gun to be able to do some damage, and in the end, reload Scarabs to send into another target to explode. Those mortal wounds can be nasty. Hopefully this helps you guys out in seeing some of the thoughts and what I've seen behind Scarabs. I know that many Necron players, such as myself, love to be able to get Scarabs on the table. They're a lot of fun to annoy your opponent with. As like I said, it's a unit that really bugs Lane. Get it? Dad joke, pun intended. But I like them. They're a lot of fun. They can do a lot more work than expected, and they're quick. And when you take that objective marker from somebody and are able to full reroll to hit on these guys, or when they get into your home field zone and you have full rerolls to hit because of the Canoptek control matrix, that lethal can really, really come in handy. So, all right, guys, that's it for this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.